Welcome back to the Brandon T. Adams Audio Experience. I'm Brandon T. Adams, and today I'm sitting here with Kristy Whilden. How's it going? Nice to see you here.
Thank you.
And also, we have Kelly, who is a sign language interpreter. Thank you for being here as well. And we're going to jump into your story today. We're going to talk about your journey, and there's other couple stories, even with your father, with the books you have here. We met through a mutual friend, Kevin Harrington. You guys co-authored a book together, The Comeback Code. And it's something you all should check out. And we've recently connected, and I had to have you on the podcast to talk about your story. You, in the recent years, had lost hearing, and so I'd love the conversation first start. What was that like when you first lost hearing? What did you go through for people that are watching this right now? Can you talk about that experience?
Sure. As I've told you before, I was a music teacher for 10 years, and I learned I was losing my hearing due to progressive sensory neural hearing loss. It was a really difficult time in my life. My music business was doing really well. I had a bunch of teachers teaching for me, like different instruments and stuff, and my top-of-the-line kids just played at Carnegie Hall in New York City. So it was the best time of my life. I thought, this is it. This is who I am, right? And then when I got my diagnosis, it was absolutely devastating. Like, imagine your entire identity just
taken away,
gone. Yeah. So it was a really
what was that like? Because I've always thought, like, if I couldn't speak anymore, because that was like that's part of who I am. For you, what was that feeling like? Just your mental attitude of, oh, I'm losing my hearing, but I'm a music teacher.
So growing up, I started playing piano when I was 9, and going through your adolescence time that's a hard time in itself, right? So music and my piano was my lifeline. It was my therapy. Like, when I was angry, I would play Phantom of the Opera, or when I was happy, I would play, something that's more happy. So that was all of my emotion, and now I couldn't hear half of it. So I could hear the bass, but I couldn't hear the treble. So because I was so angry, I would, bang out some super low, like Chopin songs that are all in the bass. So as that disappeared, I got very angry, and I just shut the case of my piano and just walked away from it. So all of that then internalized inside of me, and I slipped into a really nasty depression.
So I'm just thinking through this. What were the things that you did? Because you start to lose your hearing. Did you seek out advice from other doctors? Like, what was that process like?
So when I went to the doctor, and I went to the audiologist to get my hearing tested, they looked at me, and they were just kind of like, it just is what it is. So with sensory neural hearing loss, the hair cells in my ears are dying.
Yeah.
So then there's nothing to grab the sound to pull it into my brain. So the sound kind of stops here.
You were telling me earlier that you can actually hear a man speaking better than a woman.
Yes.
What's the science behind that?
So most of my hearing is in the upper range. My hearing loss is in the upper range. So it's kind of going this way. So like everybody who has like deep tone voices, I do really well with. I'm also a master lip reader, especially when it comes to male voices, because having her here is great for me because she fills in the blanks of the things that I can't hear. So if there's something that I miss, I look at her.
So if we're having this conversation right now, you're actually utilizing this to help better with the communication, because
Yes.
You speak to me, I can't tell that you have any hearing loss at all.
Right, because I was born hearing. So I grew up hearing. I grew up going to school. Speech and English was my first language. So of course there would be no difference in my voice.
Let's talk about Hands Up Silent Theater. What was the inspiration behind that, and what's your mission with that?
So the mission at Hands Up Silent Theater is to encourage the deaf to learn more about the performing arts, and to encourage the hearing to learn ASL and to interact with deaf peers. Our vision is to create performances that are 100% not just accessible, but equal for the deaf and the hearing to enjoy together the way it's supposed to be.
Can you give us an example? Let's say I'm going to go on Broadway and I'm going to go experience a play. Like, what is it your way that's going to make it where it's a much better experience?
Okay, so if we want to go back to the creation of Hands Up, my daughter and I, every year for her birthday, we would go to see a Broadway show. And it was our thing. We loved it. This particular year, I had to call a couple weeks in advance to request an interpreter. So it's not like something you can be able to go to, just on a whim. So the interpreter was there, not just for me, but for other people. And so I was sitting there in the audience, and like I could feel the bass of the music. I couldn't hear the treble. So I would look at my interpreter when when the show itself was going on, and I realized something very fast, that there's not equality when it comes to theater and ASL, because the interpreter was in the corner, she was dressed all in black, and gosh, it's a hard thing to talk about because it was one of those like pivotal moments in my life, you know? So she's dressed all in black. She didn't really have a whole lot of emotion. And like when you go to interpreting school, you're taught like you need to have the emotion.
It shows like you don't give a fuck. Like kind of, right? Yeah.
So, you know, maybe my interpreter was having a bad day. Like I don't want to put like anything bad
Yeah.
upon her, but you know, you're getting paid a whole lot of money to be a Broadway interpreter.
Yeah, like show your emotion behind
right?
it.
So I was looking at the guy sitting next to me and I realized real quick, I was like, hey, he paid $500 to be there. I paid $500 to be here. Like, this is not a discounted seat. I should get the exact same thing that he gets up on that stage with the beautiful costumes and the natural interaction with the actors and you know, the beautiful backdrops and the sets and stuff. I got nothing but a woman who didn't really want to be at work today. So I got in the car with my daughter and I was kind of tearing up and I was like, you know, what can we do with this? And she's like, Mom, let's start our own theater. And, you know, here she is like 13 years old, right?
Wow.
So her and I co-founded Hands Up Silent Theater together. So how it works is we have to start our shows like way in advance. Normally, like children's theater, you can do something in like a couple months or whatever.
Yeah.
But it takes us 8 months because you got to think about it. These kids don't know this language. Most of them don't. We have probably about 95% hearing kids and only 5% deaf or hard of hearing children. So they come to me, some never danced before, some don't sing, some can't voice. They all have to learn the show in English first, and then we teach them the show in ASL. And I don't know if you know anything about ASL, but the grammar structure is different and actually comes from France, which is part of the reason why I wrote this book. So they're voicing in English,
Yeah.
they're signing in French. So it's two different languages going on at the
Imagine
same time. So but the beautiful thing happens is that like when my curtains open, all eyes are up on that stage because my kids are signing and voicing at the same time. So,
That's powerful.
yeah.
Is anybody doing this right now?
Deaf West Theater out in California. They were part of my inspiration. They are a professional theater. They actually worked on Broadway with the show Spring Awakening.
Yeah.
And I'm really super excited because we were emailing back and forth like 2 weeks ago, and they're bringing a show to New Jersey. Like, what is the odds of that? So they want to partner with my company.
That's super exciting.
It's really exciting.
So
for
you were
me.
talking about the book. So I want to go back in time because I grew up in a family business and you have too. Talk about your father's newspaper business and now we have the publishing business. How did that start?
Yeah, so my parents, my dad, he had $100 in his pocket, an idea in his brain, right? So I grew up near Ocean City. There's a lot of campgrounds in the area.
Yeah.
So he decided he was going to do a seasonal newspaper. So he went around and got the ads going on, you know, and he went to school for graphic arts. So this was right up his alley. So he would go to the different like campgrounds to see what's going on, and then to the different places in the area, like places to eat. And he came up with this Mid-Atlantic Camper is what it was called, under the umbrella of Whilden Graphics and Whilden Publishing. So my whole life, like I remember jumping in Dad's car because we have to go deliver newspapers today. You know, this is really fun.
How old were you then? I mean, just as a
Gosh,
kid?
little, yeah, like 5 to, I don't even know.
He started this business a long time ago. This has been
Yeah, it
around
was
for
founded in
years.
1974.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So unfortunately, you know, getting older, things happen. My dad is a 4-time stroke survivor. My mom is a 2-time stroke survivor. My dad has Parkinson's and he's currently fighting cancer. So he had to shut the business down quite some time ago. So I wanted to lead with legacy, and I wanted to resurrect our family business, but turn it from newspaper to books.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your book because you got something exciting coming up and you're launching this. You have a mission behind it. Let's talk about that.
So this is Alice's Colorful New World.
I love this.
This story is so important to me. So the reason why it's so important is because we didn't talk really about my backstory, but when I lost my identity as a musician, I ended up in a women's shelter with my 3 children. So at the time, I went back to school and I got a degree in deaf studies and American Sign Language. And during my very first class which is deaf culture class, which was taught by my teacher, Celeste Bonfanti, who is now on my board of directors at my theater,
That's
which is pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
And she told me the story of Alice Cogswell and Laurent Claire. And Alice is a 9-year-old little girl who was deaf in Hartford, Connecticut back in, she was born, I think, 1805. And she is the catalyst to deaf education in our country. So she changed the world just by being her little self, which is so cool.
That's so cool.
So Alice, she was outside playing in the garden one day. Of course, they had a garden because her father is a cataract surgeon. He was the first surgeon to do cataract surgery in America. So she was outside playing, wanting to play, and Thomas Gallaudet lived next door, and most people in the deaf community have heard his name before. So Thomas Gallaudet, he went out to his brothers and be like, why aren't you playing with this little girl? And they're like, oh, that's Alice Cogswell. She's deaf and dumb. Now, we don't use the word dumb anymore. It's just not what we use today. But that was the words of the time. So he was like, deaf and dumb. I wonder. So he walked over to her. He tried to have a conversation with her. She just went, I don't know, you know. So he decided he was going to sit down and work with her because he was home from seminary school because he had a lung affliction and he was trying to get better. So he wanted something to do. So he started working with her and he taught her the infamous first word of the deaf, which is hat. So how he did that is he would take his hat off his head, put it on her head, back on his head, and then he wrote hat in the sand. And she wasn't understanding at the time. But then when her father came home that day, he was like, hey, I would really like to work with your daughter. I would like to give it a shot. And he was like, I mean, you can try, sure. And then she comes running up to him, super excited. She grabs a stick and she writes hat in the sand. So it was one of those like pivotal moments, like she can be taught. Like, this is great, you know? Yeah. So he's like, hey, Thomas, I learned about this manual alphabet and language that they're teaching over in France. Can you go over there? I'll pay you and bring this language back to my kids. Here's this book that talks all about it. And he was like, sure, I'll go. So he hops on a boat, heads over to, he started in London, or England, and he went to a school for the deaf where they were trying to teach kids how to voice, and they were abusing these kids. Like, when they got it wrong, they would like dunk their head in water, they would smack them. Like, it was a horrible, horrible thing. And he was like, this is not for me. This is not the right for the deaf. So then he was walking through London Square and he saw, he came upon like a community of people. They're surrounding two people, right? And it was Abby Sicard, who was he was the head of the Paris School for the Deaf, and then he had Laurent Claire, which was his #1 student. So he was showing people of London, he was trying to recruit kids for the School for the Deaf in Paris to show them, like, the deaf can be taught. So Thomas Gallaudet happened to stumble upon them, and he realized that, hey, that's the person in this book. I really need to go talk to him. So he went over there and said, hey, what's going on? He was like, oh, we have a School for the Deaf in Paris. Like, this is what we do. And he was like, I want to come. So Thomas Gallaudet went there for 3 months, and he realized really quick, he's like, this is a full language. Like, there's no way in the world I could learn this by myself. So he went to their top teacher, who was Laurent Claire, who's the man in this book.
Yep.
And he said, hey, can you come to Hartford? Can you come to America to teach deaf Alice? And he was like, okay. So can you imagine if somebody randomly from a different country comes up to you and says, hey, can you drop everything you know and come across the country to teach what you know to this one person? And he did, because it was so important to him.
And so that was the beginning of sign language.
Yes.
Is that correct? Wow.
So sign language comes from France. It comes from the home signs of the kids from Connecticut. And it also comes from Martha's Vineyard, because at the time Martha's Vineyard had their own sign language, because they had a whole group of people on that island that all signed.
Yeah.
People say it comes from British Sign Language, but there's no real documentation of it. So all three of those languages together created what ASL is today.
So I want to make sure everybody watching here and listening, where can people check this out and talk about the mission? Because I know we're going to be helping you with everything you're doing. You have a big goal here.
I do.
Let's share with the listeners and the viewers today.
So through the magic of Facebook, I became connected with Laurent Claire's 4-time great-great-great-grandson, Laurent Claire Holt. And he's such an amazing person. He's now one of my best friends and on the board of directors for my theater, right?
Congrats.
It's magic. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a magic of God. So him being connected, he took me to France. He took me to his grandfather's home where he grew up. He walked me through the caves of where he used to run around when he was a kid. That was incredible. I met so many really great deaf friends. And I realized like how important this story really is, because this is the story that got me out of the shelter. This is the story that inspires people around the world. So what can I do with it? So I decided to create a children's book from it. because there's a lot of children in the world that are deaf that are mainstream, and they never learn their deaf history.
Yeah.
They learn American history. They learn other things that are in regular schools, but they don't know where they come from. I've asked even like older deaf, like, do you know the story of Laurent Claire? And some of them are like, no. I'm like,
Wow.
no. It's like asking an American, do you know who George Washington is to me, you know? So I decided I was going to create this book, and the book's pretty cool. It starts out in black and white when Alice has no language, and the color comes from France. So Laurent is the color that comes here from France, and then she realizes at the end of the book, when she knows all of her colors, that the color her colorful new world is the deaf world. So now she has an understanding of who she
Super
is.
cool.
And then with that, every year, for the past 2 years, and I'm going in a couple weeks, I volunteer at the School for the Deaf in their museum. And it's beautiful, like all of their artifacts are incredible, but the building that it's in is not conducive to be a museum, like rising and lowering, like humidity, like it's not right. And what they're trying to do is to take their old gym and create a new and move everything into there,
Yeah.
but they need money to do it. So I was
You're
like,
going to raise money through this book.
I'm going to raise money for this book.
How much are you trying to raise?
I'm going to sell $1 million, a million copies of this book, because I will hand $1 million check to the School for the Deaf. Like there's no.
You've already committed to it.
Yeah, I have
it's out
to do
there in the
it.
universe.
My number one goal in my life is to be a philanthropist, and I want to start here.
So if somebody right now, for one, where can they get the book?
Book launch is July 4th, so they can order it on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com at that point.
What if somebody wants to order thousands of copies to give out? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can definitely reach out to me, and I can put an order through Amazon.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. So I am going to, for one, get multiple copies of this book
Thank you.
for all people I know in my world, but also going to support you with this endeavor. I just want to acknowledge you both. Thank you so much for what you do. Kelly, thank you for the interpreting here. And for all of you right now, just check out Kristy's mission, everything she's doing. I am behind this. Follow her. Many things to come. We'll have to do, let's say in a year from now, come back on the show and talk
That was
about
so
this.
fun.
I'm so happy for you. Congrats on your success, what you've done, defied all odds, and look where you're going. I can't wait till you get
Yes.
that million sales,
Oh my God.
million copies,
Million copies
of the book.
Yes.
And for those of you watching right now, listening, you know what time it is. Go out there, create something great, and become unforgettable, because life is too short not to. I'm Bernie T. Adams. Have a great day, everyone.